It's called Measuring Units Worksheet, and this is what you're going to be doing. Now, in a moment, I'm going to take you through how we do units, how we do conversions and things like that. It won't take too long, but I want to show you on the whiteboard. But for now, I just want to show you how you're going to write on this. How are we even going to do this? Like, I have this thing on my screen. I can't write on it on a PC. Now, if you're used to an iPad, you can open this in another app and you can write directly on it, save it, and turn it in. If you already know how to do that, great. But we have such a wide range of students. Some have never done online school. Some have never used a system like Canvas or Blackboard. So I want to take you through it. So the first thing you need to do is download it. So I downloaded it. On Windows, it automatically puts it in my downloads folder. Same thing with MacBooks in the bottom right, it'll download into that download folder over there, your new files folder. So I have a copy of this. So to write on it, if I don't have an app, let's say just I'm on a PC or a desktop, or I'm on a phone, even an iPad or some kind of tablet, I don't have an app. There's a free app online that works really well for it. It's called Zoto PDF Editor, and it's right here. I put a link up for you guys. All you have to do is click on it, and it will take you to the website. So here it is. It's called Zoto. It's free. You can go to the website by clicking this box, but really you can launch it directly from Canvas. And here you go. So here's open file. You can just stay as a guest. You don't need to have a login unless you do a lot of it. And what it's going to ask you for is to open a file. If you can save things to your Google Drive, you can open from there or open from Dropbox. I just downloaded it directly to my computer. I could either drag and drop it right in here, or I could go to local file. I'm just going to click local file to show you how to do it. So I'm going to go to my downloads right here. Here it is, metric conversions. So I'm just going to pick one of them, double click, and there you go. And now it's in Zoto. Now in Zoto, you can do all kinds of edits. If you're really good with a mouse and you're using a mouse, you can write if you want. Like I'm just going to do this conversion real quick to give you an example. 2.08 centimeters is 20.8 millimeters. And if you don't know how to do that, it's no big deal. But I could write that in there, 20 point, and it's going to be kind of messy. So if you have an Apple Pencil or something like that, great. And you're doing it on an app, it'll probably work well. But if you're having to use a mouse, that might bother you a little bit if you look at this. But you can definitely do that. Let's say you don't like what you did. So up here in the upper left, there's a little select tool. You can just select it and delete it. So if you're going to use Zoto, I recommend doing the text tool. So it's probably easier. I can just click on this text tool in the upper right. I'm going to choose black. And I usually do text about 12 because that's what everything's in. So I'm just going to draw a little box here and put 20.8. There you go. You can use your little select tool to move it over if you want. There you go, 20.8 millimeters. So that's one way to do it. You just go through the assignment. You can fill everything in like that. Pretty easy. Once you're done, in the upper left up here, it says save. You can click save and it'll save it to a folder. It just made a copy of the one I did. It saved it to my downloads folder. And I have a copy of it. So that is how you use the Zoto PDF editor. Once you edit your assignment, I just did metric conversions. You can just go to the assignment. I've submitted this before for an example, but yours will say submit. Mine says resubmit. Just click on it. Choose that file. You just download it right here, metric conversions. And there you go. It's right here. Click submit assignment, and you're done. So that's really all it takes. It gives you this nice confetti and things like that. So you can do this in a purely online environment. You could do it in Windows using Zoto or a laptop. If you're using a tablet, I highly recommend you use the app because it's a little easier, but you can also access the same thing from the iPad. You just go to the Modern Day Canvas right on the iPad, and there you go. Remember the student app is free, so you can do it right in there. If you want to save things to Dropbox, there's links for that. Dropbox, Google Drive, Office 365 if you use things like OneDrive, things like that. So there you go. That's how you turn in an assignment. Pretty easy to do. Get it off here, upload it into Zoto, do the assignment, save it, and then upload it back, and that's all you got to do. So That's how we do that. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to show you how to actually do the conversion. So I'm going to switch gears here. I'm going to stop my camera for a second because I'm going to hook up my iPad. Yes, okay, good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how we do conversions. Now, we use metrics in science, and the reason I kind of chose this is I listen to a lot of teachers and they say, hey, you know, my students are struggling with this. Am I not teaching it correctly? Maybe I'm struggling teaching this, or, you know, no matter how simple I teach it, you know, we're still struggling with this. So what I'm going to do is just kind of introduce you to how we do conversions. We do conversions in a lot of classes. And there's one method you can use to where it will work fabulously no matter what you're converting. So for this, we're just going to use metrics. I want to get you a little used to the metric system. We don't use inches so much, and in sciences you probably used metrics before. So the metrics just are so much simpler to convert. They make so much sense. Now at first, it's kind of confusing. So if I say something's, okay, that's 10 centimeters, you're like, I have no idea what that means, Mr. Willen. How many, you know, inches is that? Well, that's about 4 inches. And as you get used to them, you see some conversions, you'll start being able to figure that out. But we just use metrics. The good thing is most of the time we're using things like grams and stuff like that. So it's not so much distance that we're concerned with. Anyway, let's take a look at how to do some conversions. So I'm going to write some simple metric conversions down here. Let me get the pen back on. Okay, 1 meter equals 1,000 millimeters. So if you have a meter stick, there is 1,000 millimeters in there. Oh, there we go. I will give you the password in a second. Okay. So 1 meter is 1,000 millimeters. The second one I'm going to give you is 1 meter, 100, oops, put too many zeros. Let me take that off, centimeters. I don't need that thing there. 100 centimeters. Okay, that's another conversion we use a lot. Another one we use is kilometers because kilometers are long. So a kilometer is 1,000 meters. And I could go on. There's a lot of different ones here, like things like decimeters and decameters, and you know, just things we don't use that often. These are the most common ones we use. We use the milli prefix, the centi prefix, and the kilo. So kilogram, milligram, things like that. Cubic centimeter, things like cc's. If you watch medical shows, they talk about, oh, give them 50 cc's. That's 50 milliliters of 50 cubic centimeters. So these are the ones we use most often. So I'm going to give you an example here. I'm going to give you 2 examples of conversions. So let's say I have 2.54 kilometers. Okay, so I have 2.54 kilometers. I want to say how many meters are in this distance. So let's say I have 2.54 kilometers. I want to know how many meters are in 2.54 kilometers. That's probably a pretty simple conversion. I have this conversion factor right here. 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. I can do some simple math to get that. However, let's say I have something maybe a little more complex. Let's say I have 2.54 kilometers, right? What if I want to know how many millimeters are there? Well, that is a little more complex. Still is pretty simple, like just simple math, but as things get more complex, there's more and more steps to the problem. So I'm going to take you how to do these 2 simple ones. So the first worksheet you have is just simple metric conversions, simple 1-step conversions. That's like this problem up here. The second worksheet you have is called multi-step conversions, and this is where you're going to have to do a couple steps. So I'm going to show you a technique you can use to do any problem like this. And it's not going to matter if you're using weights or distances, or in chemistry, if you're using things you probably haven't heard of yet, like moles and number of particles and things like that. How many liters are in a gas and things like that. You can do all these conversions, and that's the reason I'm showing you this method. When you get to chemistry, you'll kind of be a step ahead. This is one of the things that students tend to have problems with because they're come in and not only are they trying to learn the chemistry, they're trying to learn how to do a conversion. So if you get that out of the way early, this is a great opportunity to do that because I can show you this while you learn to turn things in on Canvas. It's going to give you a pretty big advantage. So let's do that first problem, 2.54 kilometers. How many meters are in this distance? So how we do this is for every single conversion, you want to make a plan of attack. So I'm looking up here at my conversion factors. I think this is pretty easy here because I want to go from kilometers to meters. It's pretty obvious that I'm going to use that conversion factor because it has kilometer on one side and meters on the other. Now, when we do these conversions, I always rewrite these as fractions or proportions. A lot of things in science we do are proportions. So this is how we generally do our conversions. And you can do these different ways, but this is one way that works really well and that you can apply to anything. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to rewrite it as 1 kilometer to 1,000 meters. Now notice I always have a unit. We have a saying in science at Mater Dei, and that's no naked numbers. You always have to have a unit to your number. So let's say I say, okay, I have 20. It's like, well, 20 what? Well, if I have $20, that's one thing. If I have 20 cars, that's something completely different, right? Totally huge differences between having only $20 and having 20 cars. So we always put a unit on there. So here are my units, 1 kilometer and 1,000 meters. And again, write it as a fraction. So I'm going to take this number, this 2.54, oops, 2.54, and I'm going to write it down here, 2.54 kilometers. And I want to convert this to meters. Now, when I look at my conversion factors, I'm only going to use one conversion factor. So I'm going to make one set of parentheses, and I'm going to put my fraction in here. This is going to go in there because I'm only using this one conversion factor. For each one you use, if it's a multi-step, you will just have extra parentheses. Okay, so now what I want to do, I'm going to put the fraction in here, but which way do I put it? It's a proportion, so I can either put the kilometer on top, or I can put the kilometer on the bottom. I could put it in either way. So how do I know which way to put it in? Well, what you want to do is to make sure your meters cancel out. So, or your kilometers cancel out in this case, because we want to get to meters. So what does that mean? Well, if you've taken math, let's say I have 3 over 3. You generally wouldn't write 3 over 3 as a final answer, right? You would change that to 1 because there's 1 on the top and 1 on the bottom, so they cancel out. It's only 1. Conversely, let's say you have 4x over 2x if you take pre-algebra or simple algebra. You'll notice there's an x on the top and the bottom. They cancel out. You're left with 4 over 2 or 2. So that's generally what we do in math. You can do the same thing with numbers, variables, or units. So what I want to do here is when I do my conversion, I want my kilometers gone because I'm trying to go from kilometers to, oops, my eraser keeps popping off, kilometers to meters. So what I'm going to do over here is I am going to put my kilometer on the bottom. And there's a reason I do that. If I think about this number, 2.54, there's actually an invisible 1 down there. Anytime you have a number, there's a 1 under it. It's invisible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that kilometer on the bottom because I want those units to cancel out. So because I have a kilometer on the bottom and a kilometer on the top, when I multiply them, they will cancel out. So let me show you what that looks like. So what I would have is 2.54 times 1,000, and that is 2540. So what I would have, if I just multiplied across, I have 2540, I have 2.54 times that, and then I have kilometers, and then I have meters. On the bottom, I would only have 1 kilometer. Notice since the kilometer is on the top and the bottom, they would cancel out. So my answer would be 2,540 meters. So that's how it works. All you have to do is take your conversion factors and put the 1 on the bottom that's on the top over here. They will cancel out. And we want to go from kilometers to meters. Look what we're left with, meters. And we're done. And that's how you do a simple conversion. That's a simple one-step problem. All right, let me show you a two-step problem. I'm going to go ahead and erase all this and do a two-step one so you can kind of see what we're going to do. So now we're going to do this one right here, 2.54 kilometers. How many millimeters are there? Again, first thing you do, let's make our plan of attack. So let's look up here at our conversions. I'm starting at kilometers. There's only one of these with kilometers. So I'm going to use that one. I'm going to have to use that one, and it goes to meters. But I want to go to millimeters. So I'm going to go from kilometers to meters. There's only one up here with millimeters, and that's going to be this one. And you can probably see in the two steps, my plan of attack is to go from kilometers to meters, and then go from meters to millimeters. So I'm going to be using two conversion factors. I'm going to be using this one, and I'm going to be using this one. So we have a two-step problem. We got to do two steps. So when I write my 2.54 down here, kilometers, I'm going to have two sets of parentheses because I'm going to have two steps. And now all I have to do is insert my conversion factors as fractions, and we can get done with this. So here's my little fractions. The first one I'm going to have to use is the kilometer because I have kilometer right here. So I'm going to have to use this one. Now, which one's going to go on the bottom? Remember, I want my units to cancel out. So because the kilometer is on top over here, I'm going to want to put my kilometer on the bottom over here. So 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. Pretty simple. Okay, now my next one, I see, hey, my kilometers have canceled out. Now I'm at meters. I need to get to millimeters. So I'm going to use my second conversion over here. I'm going to go from meters to millimeters. Because meters is on top right here, I'm going to put my meter on the bottom down here so they cancel out. So I'm going to have 1 meter, and I'm going to have 1,000 millimeters on the top. So again, just write the conversion factor as a fraction, putting the 1 on the bottom to get rid of the units. Oh, look at that, my meters cancel out. So when I do my answer, the answer is going to be in millimeters, and that's exactly what we want. So now all I have to do is my math. The math's actually the easy part. If it's on the top, you multiply. If it's on the bottom, you divide. So to get this answer, it will be 2.54 times 1,000 times 1,000 divided by 1 divided by 1. Since there's ones in the bottom, we can pretty much just ignore that. All we have to do is do 2.54 times 1,000 times 1,000, and that is going to be 2,540,000. So 2,540,000 millimeters. And there's our answer. It's that simple. Now, this is a simple case. Sometimes you'll have these flipped where your thousands might be on the bottom and your thousands or hundreds on the top. But all you have to do is multiply across the top, divide across the bottom, and you're good to go. And there is our answer. I put the unit on there. There is 2,540,000 millimeters and 2.54 kilometers. So that is how you're going to do conversions.